Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of the Curious You podcast. This episode I'm recording from the comfort of a hotel room bed. It's 7 a.m. in the morning, and I took my phone, took these little tiny microphones, and I'm sitting here and recording this very special episode for you. You see, the last 2 days, I drove more than 1,000 kilometers by myself in the car as I was going for my book promotion. But as I was driving, I was having a couple of conversations, including a conversation with a client. And as we were talking, the client asked me, Nina, how do you manage to do it all? How do you manage to be a mom plus to do so many things on the side? And once we finished our conversation, I was really thinking about the answer and how in my head it all looks very, very simple. When I think about my life, nothing seems complicated. Everything is in a flow state and everything seems to be going smoothly. So I ask myself, what do I do that I can transfer to other people so that I can help you implement the same in your life and reach that state of tranquility? I would call it actually tranquility. So, luckily, I had a few hours to think as I was driving in the car. And the answer that came to me was that I keep getting myself into a peak state. I will repeat this. I keep getting myself into a peak state. So, what does this mean? Human beings are usually living on an autopilot. I'm sure you've been there. I've been there too. When our days are purely mechanics, we wake up, we know what to do, we brush our teeth, we go to the kitchen counter, we drink water, we make ourselves breakfast. All of us have different routines, but they're all mechanics. Our bodies remember these routines and we live on autopilot. A couple of years ago, when I started working on myself and when I started questioning myself on a daily basis, remember being curious and asking myself if everything I'm doing is actually making me happy, that was when things started changing. But I realized that I couldn't simply change my thoughts just by changing my thoughts. I mean, I'm sure you've been there. You cannot sit on your bed and be like, okay, think differently now. Don't think this certain belief. Think about something else. It's absolutely, in my perception, quite impossible. So, what I realized that I had to do was get myself in a peak state by doing something that feels good. So the way that I get myself in a peak state is I either blast on some good old music that makes me feel really, really good, and I start dancing around, or I do sports, or I go for a walk, a long walk all by myself, or I take myself out for dinner, for example. That is one of my favorite things to do. I take myself out on a date and I do a bit of daydreaming. This is something that I started practicing consciously a couple of years ago, which now in my reality is a completely mechanical thing to do. Okay. So, a couple of years of practicing actually these little things that make us feel good down the road, they become mechanical as brushing our teeth. Today, I'm able to get myself into that peak state very easily. Like the last couple of days, I've been driving so long and I didn't have time to get myself into a peak state by walking, doing sports, or taking myself out for dinner. But I did have a chance to spend so much time in the car and to visualize, to daydream, and to listen to music. And that instantly puts me in a peak state, in a good mood, and gives me that everything is possible energy. You can get yourself in a peak state anywhere you are. You just need to consciously think about getting yourself into a peak state. Because unless our bodies feel really good, unless the energy is there, no matter what our head thinks, no matter our thoughts, beliefs, nothing will work because our body will not believe what our mind is thinking. I've repeated this several times in this podcast that 95% of what we know is actually our subconsciousness, and only 5% of everything is reality in our prefrontal cortex. That is the part of our brain that we use. But let's say you have a wish to start your own company and you send this little thought to your prefrontal cortex. And now your head believes that you want to start your own company. But your body is listening to you and laughing. Your body is like, haha, she really thinks she's going to start her own company. Let's watch her do that. So your body is behind your head, and your body needs time to catch up with your thoughts. And the way your body catches up with your thoughts is by you creating consistent proof to your body that you will be starting your own company. Every thought you have, you need to provide proof in the 3D world to your body that you're going in the same direction. But in order to get your body to cooperate, the energy needs to be there. You need to learn how to put yourself in that peak state. And actually, putting yourself in the peak state is the fun part because you get to spend time with you. You get to reconnect with yourself and you get to block time out in your calendar to spend time with yourself. How amazing is that? And how little of that do we do actually as human beings? But that is the beginning of every big story. Learning to spend time with yourself and learning to improve your energy just by being you without any external input. Because usually the majority of humans increase their energy by external inputs, by eating, by drinking, by smoking, by shopping, by traveling. All of these things are external inputs. And that is the main reason why people get addicted to these things, because it makes them feel good. But you can make yourself feel good without any of these things. And that is when real magic starts happening. That is when you realize there's this whole different side of life of you that you've never even known about before. And from that peak state, from the inspired you, from the almighty you, you can create anything you want to create. Okay? And that is actually the beginning of all the biggest manifestations. When we talk today about abundance, wealth energetics, manifestation, the beginning of any of that is you and your peak state. We will get into all of these topics in more detail, as this is one of the most interesting journeys I've embarked on, and one of the journeys that proved to be magical. That is the only word I can use, magical. It completely changed my life, and I'm sure it can change your life too. So for today, I want to keep it simple, and I just want to leave you with one question. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel really good that would be able to put you in a peak state, that would be able to increase your energy and bring you closer to that inspired version of yourself, to that version of yourself that is able to dream, but most importantly, to the version of yourself that believes in her own dreams. Think about it and start practicing being by yourself, dedicated special time to yourself on a daily basis. And I promise you that in a couple of months or a year from now, it will be automatic. It will be like brushing your teeth. In that way, you will be able to move quicker and smoother through life and through all of your wishes. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you the same time, same place next week. Bye.